Hi viewers, good morning everyone. Myself Reddivari Venugopal, Assistant Professor of Physics, and I am working at Government Degree College Mahabad. Today we are going to discuss about Newton rings concept in interference unit, that is wave optics. This is the syllabus for BSc second year semester 4 students. Before going into the details, let us review what we have discussed till now. Actually, we have discussed what are coherent sources. What are coherent sources? Coherent sources are the sources which are having constant phase difference between them, and they are propagating in same direction. That means, let us take two sources. Let us say this is one light wave, this is one more light wave. They are propagating in the same direction and they are having the same frequency. That means frequency of these two sources is same. And one more thing is that the path difference between these two rays or two waves should be always constant. Otherwise, they cannot be coherent sources. So, the properties of coherent sources are frequencies should be same. Frequencies of two sources should be same. And one more thing is that they should be propagated in same direction. They should be propagated in same direction, and constant phase difference should be there between them. Constant phase difference should be there between them. These are the properties of coherent sources. So, for interference to be happening, we need two sources. These two sources can be derived from a same source, or they can be different sources. But the thing is that no two independent sources cannot be coherent sources. That's why what we do, we take a source, we derive two secondary sources from that single source. These two sources will be acting as coherent sources. This is the thing about our coherent sources. So, for interference to be happen, the sources should be compulsorily coherent sources. And next thing is we have Stokes law. Stokes law in optics. Stokes law tells that, suppose this is a glass plate. Suppose this is a glass plate of some large thickness. One light ray is incidentting like this on this glass plate, and it reflects back. One portion reflects back, and one portion transmits like this. Let us say this is ray 1, reflected ray 1. And what happens when it goes here? Here the interface is this is down portion is air, but the upper portion is glass. So what happens at this portion? The light ray reflected back like this. This is ray 2. When the light ray is reflected back here, at this particular position, a additional path difference of lambda by 2 or phase difference of 180 degrees is added. This is called as Stokes law. And one more thing we have, that is cosine law in optics. That is, suppose we have a surface like this. We have surface like this. Okay. So let us say the two rays are incident like this, and there one is reflected back like this, and the other one is reflected back like this. These are the two rays, AB rays. This is the reflected rays R1 and R2. If the refractive index of the medium is mu, and the thickness of this glass plate is T, and the angle of refraction is R, then the path difference will be given by delta, that is equal to 2 mu T cos R. This is cos R. This is called as cosine law. But but this is normal case. But when this case is included here, then the path difference will be delta, that is equal to this additional path difference will be added, that will be equal to 2 mu T cos R plus lambda by 2. So these are the things we have discussed till now. So this is the setup for Newton rings. Here a planar convex lens of large radius of curvature is placed on a perfectly plain glass plate as shown in the figure. Here this is the planar convex lens. This one is the planar convex lens, which is having very large radius of curvature of the order of 100 centimeters, and this is a reference glass plate or flat glass plate, this one. So when we place this planar convex lens on this flat surface, plain glass plate, which is flat, we can observe the air thickness is increasing from center to these edges. Okay, so if you observe from center towards at one particular distance, and at this particular distance, what happens? The air thickness will be almost equal. That means, let us say this is our planar convex lens. Okay, so we have a glass plate like this, and if you observe one particular thickness, one particular air thickness, you can observe a circle kind of thing along on that particular circle. All the points on the glass plate or on the curved surface of our planar convex lens are having equal air gap thickness. That circle, that air gap thickness corresponds to a particular Newton ring. So when a light ray, let us say AB is a light ray, it is falling like this. Let us say this is AB is a light ray, which is falling on the flat surface of the this one, our planar convex lens. What happens? A portion will be, it comes like this without any deflection. A portion will be reflected from this upper part of our planar convex lens. Let us call it as this is ray 1, and remaining one portion will be transmitted like this, and that portion will be reflected back from the glass plate like this. So this is ray 2. Okay, so just remember, according to Stokes law, here additional path difference of lambda by 2 is added, as we have discussed earlier. Already I have explained this point. So now we have to calculate the path difference between these two rays, because these two rays are derived from the single source. That is, one ray is split into two rays. That means we have two rays, Now we have to calculate the path difference between these two rays. So the path difference is according to cosine law. The path difference between these two rays will be 2 mu t cos r will be there, but here it is suffering an additional path difference lambda by 2. That's why the total path difference will be 2 mu t cos r plus lambda by 2. So this is the total path difference between this ray 1 and ray 2. Okay, so here what happens, we have so many locus of points which are having equal air gap thickness. It forms a circle like this. So if you consider this is a planar convex lens, if you consider this is a glass plate, there will be a set of points which forms a circle. They are the points which have equal air thickness. That's why the locus of points which are having, let us say this is the glass plate and this is our planar convex lens. Okay, so we have a set of points which are having equal air gap thickness. Those points forms a circle kind of thing like this, circle or ring kind of thing. So for each and every air gap thickness, we will get rings like this. These rings are called Newton rings. These rings are called Newton rings. These are things we are going to discuss today. So today we are going to discuss about Newton rings and how they are formed and what are the applications of the Newton rings. We are going to discuss in the next slides. So just observe this figure. I have explained already. So this is a AB is a AB. This AB is a flat glass plate on which we have kept a planar convex lens which is having very large radius of curvature. Okay, so here the plain glass plate and the plain glass plate and the planar convex lens are touching each other at point O. Okay, so now we are considering a point, that is J, where one incident light ray is incidenting like this, and it is one portion is reflected back from the curved surface of our planar convex lens, and one portion will be reflected. One portion will be reflected. That portion again reflect back from the this flat glass surface, and it enters into the our planar convex lens, and it enters into the air. So this is the ray 1, this is the ray 2, this is the incident ray. Now we have to find out the path difference between these two rays. As I have explained, the path difference will be lambda is equal to 2 mu t cos r minus lambda by 2. In the previous slide, I have explained that 2 mu t cos r plus lambda by 2. 2 mu t cos r plus lambda by 2, 2 mu t cos r minus lambda by 2 are analogically equal. So for interference maximum, according to theory of fringes, delta should be equal to n lambda. That means the path difference should be equal to the path difference should be multiples of lambda, that is wavelength. So here we are just assuming one thing, that here the medium is, that means the medium between the glass plate and the planar convex lens is air. The medium between the planar convex lens and the glass plate is air. That's why for air refractive index is mu is 1, and we are for perpendicular incidence case, of the rays, the angle of refraction will be equal to 0. That's why what happens, the path difference will be 2 into 1 into t cos 0 it becomes. That's why this one becomes 2t minus lambda by 2. So the path difference will be 2t minus lambda by 2. So this is the path difference. But for interference should be maximum, according to theory of fringes, the path difference should be equal to n lambda. That's why this path difference, if we equal this path difference with n lambda, we will arrive at a relation that is equal to 2t is equal to 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. So this is the condition. If this condition met, we will get a bright fringe. Here just by observing the thickness, that means if you take this thickness, this particular thickness, at this particular thickness, whether the dark fringes is formed or bright fringes formed can be determined by using these two equations. Okay, so this is the equation for bright fringe. Suppose if the thickness 2t is equal to 2n1 plus lambda by 2, then bright fringe is formed. If the for interference to be minimum, this path difference should be equal to 2n minus 1 into lambda by 2. So if the path difference, that is 2t minus lambda by 2, 2t minus lambda by 2, this is the path difference. If it is equal to 2n minus 1 lambda by 2, then what happens, 2t is equal to 2n lambda by 2, that is equal to simply n lambda. That means 2t is equal to n lambda. So if the thickness becomes equal to n lambda, then we can observe dark cross spot or dark fringe. So this is about Newton rings due to reflected light. Whether in the reflected light, whether we get for a particular thickness of the air film, whether we get dark fringe or bright fringe are governed by these two equations. So this is the experimental setup. We use in our labs to produce So this is the experimental setup we use in our labs to do the Newton rings experiment. Here the experimental setup consists of a monochromatic light source, that is S. So S is a monochromatic light source, and the beam emitted or the rays emitted from this monochromatic light source are divergent beam. So to make it a parallel beam, we are using a convex lens. Here the convex lens is chosen such that the focal length of this convex lens or the convex lens, this biconvex lens kept at a distance of focal length from this source to render this divergent beam as convergent beam, and this we will get finally, after this convex lens, we will get a parallel beam of monochromatic light. Okay, so this parallel beam of light falls on a glass plate which is oriented at 45 degrees angle. this on if the light is incidenting on this glass plate at 45 degrees angle, it reflected back. Okay, this angle also will be 45 degrees because it is incidenting on this glass plate at 45 degrees angle, so it is again reflected back at 45 degrees angle. So that's why what happens, this light ray is coming and falling on this plano convex lens, and it is going up. It is going up. This is the first ray. Let us say this ray is coming and incidenting on this glass plate. It is reflected back and it is going to this plano convex lens, and it is hitting our glass plate, and it is coming back like this. This ray is going to the microscope, and this ray also entering into the microscope. So these two rays are derived from a single source, right? These two rays have been derived from the single source. That's why what happens, there is a constant path difference between these two rays, but they are having equal wavelength or frequency, and they are traveling in the same direction. So they are the coherent sources derived from the same single source. So they go and interpret in the field view of our microscope. Then if you observe in the microscope by putting our eye in the eyepiece, we can observe an interference pattern kind of this thing. This kind of pattern we can observe. Here these rings are called Newton rings. So this center portion will be, this center portion is in generally dark, but here it is shown pink color, but it is dark and bright, dark and bright. So we will get dark, alternative dark and bright rings. These rings are called what we call Newton rings. These rings are called Newton rings. So here just observe, to observe Newton rings, that means to observe the Newton rings in the field of view of our microscope, we have to choose our plano convex lens such that it will be of very large radius of curvature. Otherwise, if it is having less radius of curvature, then the Newton rings will be very nearby. That means there won't be literally there won't be any gap between these Newton rings which are formed. Due to that, all will be like mixed up, and we cannot distinguish between dark and bright rings. That's why we have to choose this plano convex lens such that it is having a radius of curvature at least 90 centimeters. Okay. So now let us find out the radii of dark fringes. Here just observe, this is the common setup we use in our labs. This is a glass plate, already we have discussed, flat surface glass plate, and this is the plano convex lens. If you observe from upside portion carefully, but you can observe a Newton rings Newton rings like this, but it cannot be visible with 100% clarity, but you can observe. For determining the radius of the Newton ring, let us say Newton rings are like formed like this, let us say, in a field of view of the microscope. Okay, so they are formed like this, let us say. So if you take the center of this one, for this particular ring, this is the radius of that particular ring, let us say small rn. Okay, now by using this setup and using some mathematical equations, we are trying to find out the value of Rn in terms of the known parameters like the thickness of the lens, that means Thickness of the lens means the thickness, this one, from bottom to top, how much is the thickness, that is called as thickness of the lens, and radius of curvature of our plano convex lens. So now we are going to calculate the radius of the ring or radius of the Newton ring in terms of what we call thickness of the plano convex lens and radius of curvature of the plano convex lens. Okay, so now let us take a M3 which is having radius of Rm, and the for that particular ring, let us say that is a dark ring. For that particular ring, the thickness of the air film is, let us say, T. T is the thickness of the air film per Rmth ring, which is again dark ring, and for that particular ring, it is having radius of Rm. Okay, so the thickness of the air film for that particular Newton ring is T. It is uniform like this. But if you take this side also, it is of thickness T only, because we have already discussed the locus of points which are having equal air thickness forms a Newton ring. That's why the pattern, the shape of the Newton ring is a circle kind of thing. So we can take symmetry this side also, but for the calculation purpose we are taking like this. Let us say this is the center point. This is the center point, or let us say this is the touching point of plano convex lens and flat glass surface. From here to here, we can call it as radius of the M3 ring, and again we are assuming that this M3 ring is a dark ring, and for that particular M3 ring and again dark ring, the thickness of the air film is T. These are the assumptions we are making. Okay, but here the dark fringe is located. Now radius of the circular fringe we have to calculate. For this one, what we do, we know this length. We know this length. This is nothing but our radius of curvature. Okay, but this is the thickness. This one. This is the thickness of our plano convex lens. So how much this length will becomes this length from here to here. From here to here, this length becomes R minus T. Okay, this length is nothing but again R, because this is radius of curvature, and this length is nothing but our Rm, that is radius of M3 or M3, whatever it is. Okay, so according to Pythagoras theorem, what happens? This is a this is hypotenuse, this is adjacent, and this is opposite side. That's why what happens? This R square is equal to Rn square plus R minus T whole square becomes. But the thing is that if you can observe this thickness of our plano convex lens will be very less when compared to the radius of curvature of the plano convex lens. That's why we use this assumption, that is R is very greater than T. Then this equation turns out to be Rn square is equal to 2RT minus T square becomes. Okay, but since 2RT is very greater than T square, we neglect this term. That's why Rn square is equal to 2RT becomes. Therefore, our Rn square is equal to 2RT becomes, or simply Rn square or thickness of the plano convex lens for T is equal to Rn square by 2R we can write. So just remember this equation, because we are going to use this equation in the next calculations also. So now let us calculate the radii of dark fringes. So for bright fringe, it has to happen at a Q point, like this diagram. Let us see. Just consider this diagram. We have taken a random point on the curved surface of this plano-convex lens. So at that particular point, the air film thickness is T, and we are assuming that radius of that particular Newton ring is Rm. Okay. So this is the point. This is the reference point. If bright fringe is to be happen at Q, the condition is 2t should be equal to 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. But as we have discussed already, that is in previous slide, just observe here, t is equal to Rn square by 2r, right? So we substitute that one here. T is equal to Rn square by 2r. We have derived this one in the previous slide. So if you multiply this one, if you take this one to this side, 2t is equal to Rn square by r will be there. So, but for according to Kira fringes, 2 mt cos r we have discussed already. 2t should be equal to 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. This is for bright fringe. But for bright fringe, 2t is equal to Rn square by r, right? So that's why now we equate the right sides. Then we get Rn square by r is equal to 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. Okay. So now if we bring this one this side, 2n plus 1 lambda by 2 r will be there, and just this one will be there. So this is the equation. Rn square is equal to 2n plus 1 lambda by 2, 2n plus 1 lambda by 2 into r. So from this one we can write this equation. Rn is equal to square root of 2n plus 1 lambda r by 2. So this is the equation for bright fringe if it has to happen at a particular point Q. Now for dark fringe at Q, the condition is this one. As we know, the path difference should be equal to n lambda for dark fringe. Again, what we do, we use this relation, that is 2t is equal to Rn square by r. Okay. So now we equate both the sides. Rn square by r is equal to n lambda, or simply Rn square is equal to n lambda times r, or simply Rn is equal to square root of n lambda r. So these are the equations that they govern these two. This is one equation. Let us say this is one equation and this is one equation. So depends on, or depending on the radius of the ring, we can tell that whether that ring is dark ring or bright ring, or dark fringe or bright fringe. Okay, this thing we can tell. Now let us calculate the diameter of the dark ring or bright ring. Already we know, we have already calculated the value of Rn in the previous slide. Just simply we substitute that Rn value here, because diameter is nothing but diameter is 2 times the radius of the Newton ring. That's why Rn square will be equal to 2RT. Therefore, the diameter of the nth dark ring is, in the previous slide we have derived this one. If we substitute that one, dn is equal to, from this one, 2 times square root of 2RT will be there. Dn is equal to, therefore 2 times square root of n lambda r is there. From this one this comes, and from this one this comes. So these are the conditions. These are the conditions for observing dark ring at Rn diameter. That means, if let us say we have taken a nth ring, we have taken arbitrarily, we have taken a nth ring. Okay, for that nth ring, the diameter or the radius of the ring is Rn. Okay, if we know that Rn value, that means the radius of that ring, then we can conversely we can tell that whether that is dark ring or bright ring. So if that particular Rn value meets these two parameters, that will be definitely a dark ring. And for bright ring, we can use the same analogy like this. Rn is equal to square root of 2n1 plus lambda by 2 lambda r. We will arrive with these two equations. So if Rn, if this diameter of the ring meets these two parameters, or it will be equal to these two, then definitely that particular Newton ring is a bright ring. Now let us derive the equation, this one. Now in Newton rings, the central spot, just observe here, I will draw the Newton rings here. This center spot is there, surrounding that alternate dark and bright spots will be there, but this central spot, when we take, this is a dark spot. Why it is a dark spot? Because in the reflected system, because in the reflected system the central spot is dark, the optical path difference in the reflected system is delta is equal to 2t minus lambda by 2. So at the point of contact here, at the point of contact of the lens and the glass plate, the thickness of the air film is nearly negligibly small and compared to the wavelength of the incident light. Therefore, at this point, what happens? At this point, point of contact, T will be equal to 0. Okay. When T will be equal to 0, then delta will be corresponds to minus lambda by 2. Okay. That means if you take this is a condition is like, this condition is like delta is equal to 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. But we know that this condition is for dark spot, right? That's why the wave reflected from the lower surface of the air film suffers a phase change of phi, while the wave reflected from the upper surface of the film does not suffer such change. Therefore, the superimposing waves are out of phase by, which is equivalent to a phase difference of 180 degrees and r pi radians. Thus, the two interfering waves at the center are opposite in space, or the center spot is a dark spot. In mathematically also we can express like this. If T is at this particular point, at this point of contact, T is equal to 0, or simply delta is equal to minus lambda by 2. If you write in general, we can write like this. This equation corresponds to a dark ring of Newton rings. That's why this spot, that center spot in Newton rings, is always a dark spot. So for maximum and minimum, a locus of constant film thickness, the fringes of equal thickness. If you observe here, for the locus of constant film thickness is a Newton ring. Okay, that Newton ring can be either it is a dark ring or bright ring. Now let us find the spacing between the fringes. Okay. Let us say this is, let me explain. This is one ring and this is one more ring. Now we are going to find out the spacing between these two rings. Let us say this is nth ring. Okay. The diameter of the dark ring is d. Here we take only dark rings because dark rings are the rings which are having high contrast. So to find out the spacing between the fringes or rings, we are going to use this dark spots of the dark rings only. So the diameter of the dark ring is dn is equal to square root of 2n lambda r, where n can take values 1, 2, 3 and so on. Then d1 becomes 2 square root of lambda r, or 1 into square root of lambda r it becomes, and d1 will be equal to 2 square root of 2 lambda r, d3, d4 and so on. And finally we can conclude one thing, that dn is always proportional to square root of n, where n can take values 1, 2, 3, but it is not is proportional to n. Just we have to remember. That's why what happens, if you go just observe here, the spacing between these two fringes are two rings. This is the first ring. This is the first dark ring. This is the second dark ring. This is the second dark ring. The spacing between these two is let us say some x, and when we are going between second and third dark ring, the spacing goes on decreasing. This is because this condition. That means if it is proportional to n, then we can observe equal spacing, but it is not proportional to n. It is proportional to square root of n. That's why if you are moving from dark ring to outer side, then the spacing between the rings, Newton rings, goes on decreasing. So hence the rings gets closer and closer as the order of the ring, that is n, increases. This causes the rings to be unevenly spaced. Now let us find out the diameter of, or let us find out the wavelength of the monochromatic light which we have used in this experiment. This is an experimental portion. In the experiment, what we do, already I have explained the experimental part. Let me here briefly explain. We have a setup. This is a microscope, and we have a glass plate in 45 degrees angle. So here this is a light source, monochromatic light source. We have a planar convex lens like this, and divergent beam is made into convergent beam by using this planar convex lens, and this biconvex lens. And what we are doing, we have taken a glass plate this here, and we have kept one planar convex lens like this, which is of large radius of curvature, and this light rays comes and fall on this our planar convex lens. They reflected back and form interference pattern. That interference pattern can be viewed by using this microscope. Okay. So now by using microscope, we can find the diameter of each and every ring. We have a procedure, but for the time being I am not touching that one. So let us say the diameter of the nth dark ring is given by dm square is equal to 4m lambda r, according to the previous equation. That is dn square is equal to 4n lambda r. We have derived this equation previously. Just we are using that equation here. Dm square, that means diameter of the nth dark ring is dm square is equal to 4m lambda r, and diameter of the m plus p ring. That means let us say if you take m is equal to fifth ring, then m plus p becomes 5 plus p. That means if p is equal to, let us say, 2, then it becomes 7th ring. Okay. So diameter of the m plus p ring, dark ring, will be dm plus p whole square is equal to 4 times m plus p lambda r becomes. Now let us call this is equation 2, this is equation 1. Then 2 minus 1 will give you dm plus p whole square minus dm square is equal to 4p lambda r. So from this we can calculate the value of like this one, dm plus p whole square minus dm square divided by 4p will be nothing but our 4 lambda r. So okay, now let us plot a graph. Between dm square, that means diameter of the ring, to the number of the ring. Now let us take the diameter of the ring on y-axis and the number of the ring on x-axis. If you plot a graph, the graph will be a straight line which is passing through the origin. Now by using this graph we can find out the slope of the graph. But according to our formula, the slope is equal to dm plus p whole square minus dm square by p, right? That's why the slope will be equal to 4 lambda r. So the slope is equal to 4 lambda r. So from this one we can find out the wavelength by using lambda is equal to slope divided by 4r equation. So what we have to do to find out the radius of curvature of the planar convex lens, we have to set up this experimental setup in the lab. Then we have to determine the diameter of each and every ring. Let us say 5th ring and then 7th ring, just we have to leave one ring. 5th ring, 7th ring, next 9th ring, like this. Then we have to plot a graph between the diameter of the ring and the number of the ring. We will get a straight line which is passing through origin. By finding the slope of that graph, that slope is nothing but equal to 4 lambda r. Then from that slope we can find out the wavelength of the sodium or wavelength of the monochromatic light, which we have used by using this formula. So like this we can find out either wavelength of the monochromatic light what we have used, or we can find out if this wavelength of the monochromatic light is known, we can find out the radius of curvature also. So this is the application of Newton rings. So this is the topic of discussion for today. If you have any doubts, you can post them in our chat box. I will go through them and I will answer for those questions. And it's still, if you have any doubts, we will meet in the further classes. With this, I conclude my lecture for today. Thank you very much.